A man was driving down a country road, and he looked over to see a farmer holding a pig in his arms so that the pig could eat the apples off the lower branches of an apple tree. The man pulled over in partial disbelief. He said to the farmer, "Why are you holding the pig? So that the pig could eat the apples off the apple tree. Wouldn't it be easier if you just let the pig eat the apples off the ground?" And the farmer said, "Well, I suppose so. But what's time to a pig?" What is time to a pig? What is time to a cat? What is time to a little baby who's only 2 weeks old? How come they're not getting anything done? How come they're not filling up all the moments like I am? What does it mean just to be in a particular moment? What does it mean to be in the fullness of time, wherever you are? In our language, in our way of understanding time, we have the past, and we have the future, and we have the present, which is squeezed right in the middle of those two. It's like the present hardly has any time or space at all. How do we open up the present moment to really have the fullness of this very time? So I remember hearing somewhere or another that in Hebrew, in the biblical Hebrew, there wasn't a future tense in terms of language, a future tense. So, we have all these kind of discussions or arguments between different theological points of view about when the kingdom of God is or is coming. For some people, it's like something we're always moving toward. For others, it's something that is right here now. So we're not looking at a time to come, we're looking at right now. Are we building the heaven on earth, or is heaven a completely different place? Is the realm of God a completely different time of place, or are we living in this now? I would suggest that because of our way of understanding time, this is a challenge for us to understand or to live in. So in order to just learn a little bit more about this whole thing about biblical Hebrew, of course, I went to the source of all knowledge, the internet. And I did find out something interesting about this, and I'm going to tell you a little bit, and don't get too kind of wrapped up in this because it's a little complicated, and I will get to my point eventually. But I just want to make sure that you know that I'm not just making all this stuff up. So in biblical Hebrew, the verb system was not time-oriented. It had aspects. So immediately it's different than the way we look at verb tenses because we base it on time, the past, the present, and the future. And there were 5 tenses: the perfect, the imperfect, the imperative, the infinitive, and the participle. Now, I think I must have missed a couple of weeks in 8th grade where we learned what all those words meant, or just grew up in a time when it didn't seem to be as important to teach all those things, so I don't really understand all those things completely. But they do, in this little piece, focus specifically on the perfect and the imperfect. I want to just read a little bit about this. The perfect deals with an event considered as a whole or from outside. The imperfect deals with an event as unfinished, in progress, or from the inside. Thus, a verb in the perfect may be used to speak about something yet future, but considered as a whole. So it's complete, but it's not finished. I'm just saying. The imperfect may be used to speak about something in the past, but from the perspective of it being in progress. So it's already happened, but we're talking about it as if it's still happening. Now, what does this mean for us? Here's what I think. I think we are being called at this particular time in our lives to open up the present moment, to start to fuzz out a little bit the differences between past and future, and to realize that those things in another way of thinking and another way of being are not that much different. That we are right now in the past and the future. So if you think about right now, I'm talking about the word now. Right now, I'm preaching a sermon. Right now, we're in the season of Advent. Right now, we're in this millennium. Right now, we are in this phase of the creation of the earth. Do you see how, depending on your point of view, the now can be quite large? So if we think about fullness, and this week we're talking about fullness, there's something for me that has to do with being very, 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 very ready, like perhaps Mary, who was probably 9 months pregnant. Or it's a way of thinking about being in the big now. So rather than being just in this particular moment, we're looking in that bigger now. And it might not be something that we can understand with our heads, but something that we can understand with our hearts. Could I have the next slide? This is Scott Meyerson. He has been a nurse in his life. He is the partner of Jonathan Levy, who is a UCC minister and a chaplain. And Scott has been dealing with liver problems for years and years and years, and he's gone through a period of time where he was waiting and hoping for a liver transplant, and it would be possible, and then it wouldn't be possible, and then it would be possible, and then it would be impossible. He got sick recently while he was on the East Coast visiting family, and on Friday he died. Scott's life, even though it ended on Friday, is full in this very moment. Could I have the next slide? And of course, you know I'm going to milk this for all it's worth. This is Kobe Murka, who is Chin's first grandson. And on Friday night, I had my first chance to hold him. So Kobe is 2 weeks old, with his whole life in front of him. But right now, in this moment, Kobe's life is full. And if you look at these two stories, Scott's and Kobe's, you have the fullness of life. And these are just two of the stories that I'm holding in my own, at this very moment, in my own life. 2 of maybe 10 or 12 of life and death and challenge and celebration. How many of you are also holding those stories in this very moment of life and death and challenge and celebration? There is only one way to hold that. There is only one way to hold that, which is in the big now. And isn't that what God is? The big now. When we are working within this structure of language that we've been brought up in, it's harder for us to identify and experience that big now. But we do, I think, all the time. We experience time, those times when time opens up. Do you have that experience? Do you know what that feels like? And you might even be able to say some of the things that create that. Perhaps we need to be living in those spaces more often. Perhaps we need to understand what that feels like and to let ourselves be in that, because I think that is the only way we can cope with our complicated lives. And I think that is right where God is. Music is one of the ways that I think we can be transported. And so this morning I've asked Holly to play for a little bit. And I would invite you not even to listen attentively. I would invite you to just let the music wash over you. I would invite you to open up your spirits and just take the time for 3 minutes to do nothing. Now, I know that for me, it's easier for me to enter into one of those states when I'm breathing. So we're going to just take 3 deep breaths, and then we're just going to let the music wash over us. Take a deep breath, and let it out. And again, and let it out. And once more, and let it out.